In the peaceful town of Richwood, nestled among thick forests and rolling green hills, life seemed to move at a slower pace, far removed from the hustle and bustle of the outside world. St. Elena's Church, right in the heart of town, wasn't just a place of worship. It was where everyone came together. Every Sunday they'd come to pray, talk, and feel like they belonged. And it was here too, where Father Gabriel Sanders, a charismatic man loved by everyone, had been preaching for over 15 years. Father Gabriel wasn't just a spiritual guide, but also a trusted friend and advisor to many. His warm smile and comforting words were a source of solace for the people of Richwood. However, behind that kind facade, a dark secret was hidden that would soon come to light in the most tragic way. But one day in early November, Clara vanished without a trace. Her absence was immediately noticed by neighbors and friends because she never missed church services or parish activities. Worry grew when she didn't answer calls or visits to her house. Rumors started spreading quickly, and the small community of Richwood, which had never experienced anything like it, was plunged into a state of unease. After several days of searching, the truth came to light in the most brutal way. Clara's body was found in a private room within St. Helen's Church, a space reserved only for the clergy. The scene was horrifying. Clara had been violently murdered, and the state of her body reflected an incomprehensible rage and cruelty. But the most shocking thing was that the murder weapon was a blood-stained crucifix, a symbol that transformed the town's most sacred place into the scene of a crime. Detective Sarah Monroe, a seasoned officer with a spotless record, was assigned to the case. She was partnered with Detective James Callahan. They were both known for their thorough approach and their knack for cracking the toughest cases. But nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to find in Richwood. From the start, the case felt like it was shrouded in secrecy. The church, once a place of peace, now felt cold and ominous. The detectives started gathering clues and interviewing the locals, but the answers only led to more questions. Clara didn't have any known enemies. Her life seemed to revolve around helping others, and her murder was a shock to everyone who knew her. One of the first people questioned was Father Gabriel. His reaction to the news of Clara's death was one of apparent shock and sadness. But Sarah couldn't help but notice something was off about him. There was something about his body language, the way he avoided eye contact, that raised the detective's suspicions. Also, his alibi for the night of the murder was vague. He claimed he had been praying alone in the church, but there were no witnesses to confirm it. Meanwhile, James focused on examining Clara's belongings. At her house, they found a diary hidden in a drawer. The pages had notes about her daily life, personal thoughts, and most disturbingly, mentions of private meetings with Father Gabriel. The latest entries showed growing anxiety and fear. In one entry, Clara wrote, "Gabriel is asking me for something I cannot give him. I am trapped, and I don't know what to do." This discovery led Sarah and James to further investigate the relationship between Clara and the priest. What had he asked her for? Why was Clara afraid? As they gathered information, they began to notice that several members of the parish mentioned a change in Father Gabriel's behavior in recent weeks. He had become more reserved and, in his sermons, he spoke with an almost threatening tone about sin and punishment. The investigation also revealed that Father Gabriel had a more complicated past than anyone in Richwood could have imagined. Before coming to the town, he had served at another parish in a nearby city. However, he left that place suddenly after an unspecified incident that was never officially recorded. The detectives began to suspect that Clara had discovered something related to the priest's past and that this had put her in danger. Meanwhile, Clara's autopsy revealed some scary details. The wounds on her body showed that she tried to fight back before she was killed, but her attacker was much stronger. Also, they found traces of blood under her fingernails, which meant that she scratched her attacker. This turned out to be really important because it gave them a DNA clue that could help find out who did it. The detectives also found out that the church's money was being used suspiciously. Large amounts of money had been moved from the church's account to a personal account under Gabriel Sanders' name. This made them even more suspicious of the priest, especially when they found out some of the money was used to buy property in another city. Was it possible that Clara had found out about this money and threatened to tell everyone? As Sarah and James dug deeper into the case, things in Richwood became more tense. The community, once close and supportive, was now divided between those who stood by Father Gabriel and those who were starting to doubt him. Rumors and speculation spread like wildfire, and the detectives knew they needed answers fast to keep things from getting out of control. However, the case took an unexpected turn when an anonymous witness left a note at the police station. The note read, "I saw someone enter the church the night Clara was murdered." It wasn't Father Gabriel. It was a tall man, wearing a black jacket. "Please, stop this before it's too late." This new clue opened up the possibility that there was someone else involved, someone who could be working with Gabriel or who could be the real killer. The search for this mysterious man led Sarah and James to review security camera footage from around the church. In one recording, they caught the silhouette of a man who matched the witness's description. Although his face wasn't visible, his movements were cautious, as if he knew someone was watching him. This made the detectives think that they might be dealing with a bigger scheme than they had imagined. With each new clue, the truth was becoming clearer, but also scarier. Clara's murder wasn't just a simple act of violence, but the result of a web of secrets and lies that involved not only Father Gabriel, but possibly other people in the community. The investigation in Richwood was reaching its boiling point. The anonymous note about the mysterious man seen entering the church on the night of Clara's murder had opened a new line of inquiry. However, detectives Sarah Monroe and James Callahan knew that Father Gabriel was still a key piece of the puzzle. Did he act alone? Did he hire someone else to carry out the crime? Or were there more secrets hidden that Clara had discovered before her tragic end? For Sarah, what was clear was that the truth about the relationship between Clara and the priest was essential to solving the case. She decided to go through the pages of Clara's diary again, looking for clues that she might have missed on the first read. That's when she found an entry that mentioned a person named M, someone Clara had apparently argued with shortly before her death. The words were vague, but there was something in the tone of the writing that suggested that M might have been a threat to her. Meanwhile, James continued to follow the trail of the man in the black jacket. He reviewed security cameras around town, expanding the search area. Finally, he found something that caught his eye, a recording showing the same man getting into a car parked near the church. Although the car's license plates weren't completely readable, the detectives managed to track down the make and color of the car. A search of local records revealed that the vehicle was registered to a man named Victor Hayes, a well-known former private detective who now lived in a neighboring town. Victor Hayes had a complicated history. He had worked as a private investigator for years, but his career ended abruptly after several complaints about unethical methods. Since then, he had kept a low profile, but his name was now directly linked to the case of Clara Emerson. Why would a man with a shady past be lurking around the Richwood church on the night of the murder? Who had hired him? After a long search, Sarah and James finally found Victor. He was living in a small house near the woods. At first, Victor said he had nothing to do with the case, but when the detectives showed him the security footage and his car records, he started acting differently. Victor finally admitted that Father Gabriel had paid him to keep an eye on Clara. Victor said the priest was worried because Clara was asking questions about the church's money and some personal things about Gabriel. Victor insisted that he was only supposed to follow Clara and gather information. He swore he had nothing to do with her murder, but Victor also admitted that he saw Clara arguing with the priest inside the church one day. It seemed like a very serious argument. This new information made Father Gabriel a suspect again. Sarah and James decided to question him again. This time they had more evidence and a better plan. At first, the priest stuck to his story. He denied having anything to do with the murder. But when the detectives mentioned Victor Hayes and the argument he had seen, Father Gabriel's behavior changed. He started to get nervous. His voice shook, and for a moment, it seemed like he was about to confess. But then he stopped himself and asked for a lawyer. Meanwhile, there was another big development in the case. The forensics team finally identified the fingerprints on the bloody cross that was used as the murder weapon. To everyone's surprise, the fingerprints didn't belong to Father Gabriel or Victor Hayes. They belonged to Amelia Carter, a church member who worked as a secretary. Amelia was known as a quiet and religious woman. She was always helping people in the community. No one could believe that she would be involved in such a horrible crime. When Sarah and James questioned Amelia, she denied everything at first. But when they showed her the evidence, she started to fall apart. Through tears, she confessed that she had been at the church the night of the murder, but she insisted that she didn't kill Clara. According to Amelia, she had gone to meet with Father Gabriel to talk about some financial documents that he had asked her to destroy. That's when she heard screams coming from the private room. When she walked in, she saw Clara and the priest arguing fiercely. Before she could do anything, someone else entered the room, a man wearing a black jacket. It was this man who attacked Clara while Gabriel watched, frozen in fear. Amelia's description matched Victor Hayes, but she also mentioned something else. She said that, after the attack, Father Gabriel grabbed his cross and tried to use it to defend himself against the attacker, which would explain why the priest's fingerprints were also on the weapon. However, according to Amelia, Gabriel didn't kill Clara. It was the unknown man who inflicted the fatal wounds before running away. This new version of events raised more questions than answers. If Victor Hayes was only hired to watch Clara, why would he attack her? Or was there someone else involved that they hadn't identified yet? And most importantly, what did Clara know that made her a target? Sarah and James decided to confront Victor again, this time with Amelia's statement. Under pressure, Victor finally revealed the truth. He had been hired not only to follow Clara, but to silence her if necessary. He admitted that he had attacked her, but insisted that he had only done so under the direct orders of Father Gabriel. According to Victor, the priest was desperate to protect a secret that Clara had threatened to reveal. Something that, if it came to light, would destroy not only his reputation, but all the faith that the community had placed in him. The investigation came to an end when Father Gabriel's last and most devastating secret was discovered. Years ago, in his old parish, Gabriel had had a relationship with a woman that resulted in the birth of a son. To keep this fact hidden, he had used church funds to bribe several people and finance a secret life for the mother and child. Clara, while investigating the church's finances, had discovered these transactions and was determined to confront Gabriel about it. The trial of Father Gabriel was a big event that shook Richwood to its core. He was found guilty of planning a murder, stealing money, and hiding the truth. Victor Hayes was also found guilty, but he got a shorter sentence because he helped the police. Amelia Carter was also accused at first, but she was set free after proving she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. This whole case left a deep scar on Richwood. St. Helen's Church, once the heart of the community, was now empty. Its good name was ruined. The people of Richwood, who once trusted Father Gabriel without a doubt, were now struggling to understand how someone they trusted could do such a thing. For Sarah Monroe and James Callahan, the case was a hard lesson about how complicated people can be. They learned that even people who seem good can have dark secrets. And they learned that the truth, even when it's hard to hear, is always important. With the investigation over and justice served, Richwood began the long process of healing. But the story of Clara Emerson, Father Gabriel, and the church's dark secret remained etched in everyone's memory. A reminder that the truth, though sometimes painful, always finds its way to the light.